Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Lily Garcia with United for Justice. So we're today here with the CARB, the Research Division, hosting a roundtable. We're happy that all of you were able to make it. And we first want to thank you so much for coming out and joining us tonight. We're excited to have everyone here, and we're hoping that you guys will provide some good feedback so CARB staff could go back to Sacramento and brag about Bombay Beach. So before we do dive into, I know a few things. I think Carlos, the translator, already spoke. I think, did anyone else walk in that needs interpretation? ¿Hay alguien más que necesita interpretación? No? Okay. So I'll go ahead to slide number 2. United for Justice is a community-based organization. We founded back in 2021. It took us a little while because of COVID. Prior to 2021, I've been doing advocacy for quite some time. And so our main mission is advocacy to enhance social economic development, environmental justice, and education. And some of our projects right now, our first project is with CAL FIRE. Bombay Beach Community Services District is one of our partners, as well as the West Shores Community Center, Salton Sea Beach, which Ronnie and Shauna and Steven are in the back there. And then we also have the Nyland Chamber of Commerce. Our second project is just started right now, which is with the California Air Resources Board, and we will be deploying 3 AQ mesh monitors that monitor hydrogen sulfide and other gases. These monitors are the first monitors that will be deployed in the Salton Sea Basin area. We're kind of proud about that because it took us a while. Second of all, the first heavy metal emissions monitor that has been deployed throughout the Salton Sea has been deployed by the California Air Resources Board, and we've been working with them. It was deployed last year in September in Salton City out at Johnson Landing from September to January, and right now it just went back up about a month ago. So we're pretty proud about that. Another thing too, our indoor air quality research, we are searching for funds with that. And we've also collaborated with Dr. Porter, which is here from UCR, and other organizations and universities. So I would like to take this time to turn it over to Sonia from CARB, and she'll be presenting to you guys what they have for us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lillian. Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here. We're super excited that you're all here. You're obviously a very engaged community, and we're honored to be here to hear you out and hear some of the priorities and concerns that you have. So we're going to start with an overview of what CARB is, who we are, why we're here, what this meeting will be like. And then we're going to have some breakout sessions. The first one, we're going to hear what your concerns and your ideas are around climate change, air quality, and sustainable communities. And then we're going to have a 5-minute break. So you can grab more food and more drinks, use the bathroom, whatever you need to do. And then afterwards, we'll have a second breakout group. In that one, we will be grouping our ideas, figuring out which are the high priority ideas that you really want us to pay attention to. And we'll kind of do that as, in a discussion kind of format. After that, we'll have a report back so that the whole, if we end up breaking out into multiple breakout groups, we'll have a report back so that we're all aware of the discussion that happened in the different groups. And then we'll wrap up and talk about the next steps for how we're going to use your feedback. We're also happy to stay behind after the meeting is over. You can come up to us and talk to us about any questions you might have about CARB. And if you are more comfortable speaking in Spanish, you can come and talk to me or Jose. We'd be very happy to talk to you about things related to CARB. Just so you know, we also have these handouts that summarize a little bit about what we're doing with research, and it kind of summarizes what CARB does. And also, at the end of the meeting, we also have an evaluation form. There's a paper version over there. We also have a QR code if you want to use your phone to fill out the evaluation. That will be super helpful for us to make sure that our subsequent meetings in other communities also go smoothly, so your feedback will be really appreciated. All right, we thought it would be helpful to, go ahead, Lil.
I forgot to ask everyone, did everyone get a ticket? A ticket for the...
Oh, for the raffle? Yeah, if you don't have a ticket, Candace has them, and we can make sure everyone has a raffle.
Get a ticket.
Got a ticket to get out of Bombay Beach.
I don't think anyone wants to get out of Bombay Beach.
All right, we thought it would be helpful to have some meeting agreements, and I'm going to go through ones that we're suggesting, and I want to hear from all of you if there's anything that you think is missing that we can add to this list. So first, we hope, it seems like you're all very present and engaged, but that's of course where we want to start. Make sure that we're all here and present. Of course, we want everyone to be respectful towards each other. Make sure that we're creating an environment where it's comfortable for everyone to share their opinions and their concerns. We want people to take space or make space. So for example, if you're someone who tends to not speak up a lot, try to make an effort to do that. And if you're someone who tends to talk a lot, try to put the reins on a little bit and let other people speak too. Of course, listen to understand. So let's all practice active listening, especially us from CARB. We are here to listen to you. All ideas and points of view have value, and let's try to honor the time overall. We do have a limited time together. And then we also want to develop solutions with equity in mind. So, equity is just recognizing that there are barriers and advantages that different communities have, and those barriers exist in some communities, and sometimes we have to tailor solutions to those unique challenges. So let's keep equity in mind when we think about solutions that are needed in different locations. All right, so I'm going to introduce a little bit of what the California Air Resources Board is. So CARB, or California Air Resources Board, is the state agency that's charged with protecting public health from the harmful effects of air pollution, and also to develop programs to fight climate change. So there's different areas that CARB works in. So in terms of air quality, CARB is the agency that sets the state ambient air quality standards. So we set those standards, and we also monitor air quality throughout the state. In terms of climate change, we develop programs to monitor greenhouse gases and try to mitigate the impacts of climate change. We also develop and implement programs that focus on environmental justice. And for mobile sources, we monitor vehicle emissions and set vehicle emission standards. And then finally, we develop programs that promote sustainable communities. I'm just pausing to make sure the translation is all good there. So CARB coordinates both with the federal government as well as local air pollution management districts. For the federal side, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency basically sets the national ambient air quality standards, and they regulate all of the interstate, transportation emissions like trains, planes, and ships. And they oversee all the different states in their efforts to meet those national ambient air quality standards. CARB, the state agency, sets the statewide ambient air quality standards and regulates mobile sources within the state, and monitors greenhouse gases and emissions from consumer products, like for example from gas stoves. And then we have 35 local air districts in the entire state, and their jurisdiction is stationary sources from things like oil fields or even businesses like dry cleaners. So we are aware that there's many issues faced by this community in Salton Sea, and all the communities in Salton Sea. We know that there's many agencies involved in talking with all of you and all the communities are in this area. And even within CARB, you're talking to a lot of different people within CARB. We are here from the research division, and we're here to understand what research you all need to address the issues around air quality and climate change that are concerning you and all the different communities in this area. So basically, we're implementing a public process to incorporate environmental justice into our research plan. So we're developing this 5-year research plan. It's going to cover years 2025 through 2030. And this plan helps guide our annual research. So every year we have a budget of $6 to $10 million. That helps us fund 10 to 12 projects a year. And it's a good idea to have a plan in place, right, to make sure that we've collected the input from all the relevant public partners that can really give us the right direction to fulfill our mission and protect public health. So the research that we fund, that really informs CARB actions. CARB actions include regulations, the different programs that we run, and different projects that CARB is involved in. And all of those actions should include strategies to reduce air pollution, mitigate climate change, and of course protect human health, which is our main mission at CARB. So we are going to integrate everything we hear today into that plan. And so the goal really is, for us today, is to figure out, well, what are the environmental justice research needs that we can incorporate into this 5-year plan. Okay, so how are we developing this plan? So we have started to draft at least the background information that goes into this plan, so staff is drafting that. But really importantly, we have contracted with community experts to get their recommendations on how to incorporate and develop environmental justice priorities in the research plan. So for example, Lillian Garcia of United Justice and Aide of Alianza Cochabamba, they're both here today. They're both the community experts that are part of this effort. We're also having these roundtable meetings like the one that you're at right now. And those are all really important parts of developing this plan. We'll revise the plan, and then we will hold a public meeting later this year to kind of check and see where we're at with how we've integrated the priorities we've collected from everywhere. And then we'll put out a draft plan so the public can see it, and there'll be a comment period. And that'll happen more or less in the winter. And then in the spring, so early 2025, like March or April, that plan will be presented to our board. So we're working with various community experts, and so this map shows the 7 organizations that we're working with. So they include Benicia Community Air Monitoring Program, Climate Resilient Communities, Breathe Southern California, Orange County Environmental Justice, United for Justice, Alianza Coachella Valley, and Central California Asthma Collaborative. Okay, so we are going to be collecting ideas from a wide group of folks, of public partners. So that includes our community experts, as I mentioned, members of the public, community members like yourselves, other public meetings that we'll be hosting later this year, and we'll also be taking input through phone messages or email. So that's an additional option if something occurs to you later. We'll be tracking all these ideas in a spreadsheet and publishing that as an appendix in the plan, but also the highest priority items will be reflected or incorporated in the plan as well. All right, so CARB does research in all of these areas. We have projects that touch on air quality, on climate change, on public health, on mobile sources, and on sustainable communities. And we weave economics and environmental justice through all of these topics. So that was just a brief introduction of CARB. We're going to actually just start with the breakout rooms. It looks like there's quite a few people here. I think we should have at least 2 groups. Yeah? 3 groups maybe? Yeah. All right. Do you think we should move tables or just leave people where they are? Yeah, you're pretty evenly distributed, so we'll just have each group be at each of the tables. So a facilitator will come to your table and guide you through what to do next. If you would rather have a Spanish first breakout, then we can figure that out as well. Jose or I can lead that group. All right, so we're going to start with the breakout groups, and whoever's facilitating your table, they can help answer any additional questions you might have about what we shared here today. And if it gets a little too loud, like if there's too much crosstalk between the tables, we'll figure something out. We'll move the tables a little farther from each other. Great.
Like your hat, Kevin.
Thanks. Not lit, but I'll be wearing the lit one later. Yeah, thanks. What goes wrong with all the Milky Way photography?
Milky Way. Is that kind of similar to this? I think it was just the drinks that go to the Salton Sea, right? Yeah. Make yeah, she's pretty so just we're going to end the break there, and we're going to move on to our second session. We changed up the plan last minute, and we're going to just have one big group so you can hear the ideas from all of the breakout groups. And we'll walk you through all of the ideas we heard. And we're going to have you prioritize using the star stickers that are on your tables. So, we're going to start. I'll pass the mic off to the different facilitators so they can walk you through the different priorities that you shared with us.
1 or 3, so we did have everyone contributing 5, but we did coalesce along around some really important themes. And one of them was just, access to healthcare, emergency plans, trash removal, and public transportation is really needed in the area. And also issues with the town and the beaches like shutting down and people having to move. So that's sort of just these public resources up in this area. And then we also had climate change and extreme heat. And then water quality affecting the air quality was also an issue clustered down here. And then, of course, asthma, air quality, dust control, and air dust is all clustered here. And then flooding also came up 3 times, clustered up here. And then, pollution coming up from the exposed playa and the receding sea, creating more exposed playa. And then, so that's here, and issues with, not having effective dust suppression methods and the hay bales not being effective. So I think that's it. Thank you so much, Group 2.
I'm Sonia, and Karina and I facilitated Table 1 over here on the right, or my right. And we heard a lot of great ideas from this group. Thank you so much. So we grouped it in roughly a couple of different groups here. So similarly to Group 2, we had a lot of concerns around the health effects of air quality on people, but not just people, but also on animals, on vegetation, on fetal and child development. Basically what are the impacts of air quality on all of that. Then there were some more specific concerns around the impacts on health from activities from Lithium Valley and the evaporation of lithium mixed with Salton Sea evaporates. So that was one group right there. We also heard a lot of concerns around the way solutions are being implemented, how they're being created. So for example, no more hay bales is important here. Also, how is the dust problem across the whole grapevine being approached? Is this a single issue? Is it unique to each area? How is it being approached? And then, no more Band-Aid projects. Money should be spent wisely. So here we have this grouping of how we create solutions, how do we make them more effective. Then we had concerns about bringing the water back and how that would be a solution for dealing with the toxic dust. And then we also had a concern about infrastructure resiliency. So the example that came up was the moving geyser. So natural phenomena, but also climate change and the dust is going to be impacting your roadways. And so how is your infrastructure going to last throughout time? How do you make it more resilient so that it's sustainable? So these are some of the ideas that came out of Group 1. Thank you so much, Group 1.
Hi, I'm Deidre, and I was facilitating, I don't know what group we were, 3 back there. We came up sort of similar themes, is what we're hearing. Gathering places for youth and seniors and everybody else. A lot of issues around transportation, but also transportation to training so that jobs can come back to the area, not just go somewhere else. Lack of jobs sort of generally, kind of desires for sustainable tourism, and transportation also just more broadly, not just for training and education. New ideas around kind of lake spray and potential air quality or issues associated with that. A lot of concern around water in the sea, needing water. New stuff around dust, so especially around dust generating new diseases that may have been previously misdiagnosed as something else, and trying to understand what's happening, where is it coming from, and how do we solve it. Issues around dust composition analysis, and trying to understand what is in the dust. And then request, better air for addressing chronic illnesses and allergies, so things like asthma, and just generally more resources. So that was
awesome group 2 or 3, whichever group we were in the back, and we'll pass it over to Jose.
Thank you, Deidre. So we were the Spanish first group here, so thank you and such amazing contributions to our discussion today. So I think there were a lot of similar topics that we also talked about in our table here. So one of the bigger questions that we started talking about is understanding the connection between health and what exactly are being a lot of the health impacts, like what are people breathing from the Salton Sea, the dust and all the health impacts. So that is one of the big questions that we talked about, and we want to know exactly what are we breathing, what are the health impacts for everybody living around the Salton Sea. There's also a big need around kind of the topic of sustainable communities. There's a need for better infrastructure, much need for different resources, like having a well-funded, dignified clinic for the communities, thinking about better transportation system for the community as well. That was another topic that came up in our conversation. And then talking about not only what is currently being experienced here in the Salton Sea and all the communities, but also what is about to come with the mining and extraction of lithium, and just kind of understanding not only the health impacts that it's going to create in the community, but thinking about what are some of the economic benefits or impacts, and also thinking about like the environmental impacts as well that it's going to bring. So that was another big topic. And of course, concerns with dust and making sure that we have access to clean water and transportation. But I think those were the most kind of like resonating topics that came up in our conversation. And of course, acknowledging that there's communities like in the Salton Sea that are incorporated, and a lot of resources oftentimes then trickle down to those communities. So that was another big topic that came up as well.
To any of these.
On the asthma, there's
Asthma?
not much asthma in Bombay. A lot of asthma is in Island and beyond because they spray pesticides on crops. And I don't think they take that into consideration.
Okay.
And I don't know if you checked a little bit on the statistics around the area, that the Imperial Valley probably has the highest respiratory disease rate in the entire country.
Are you getting these?
Yes, I just can't spell disease tonight, but I will get it.
About root causes for a lot of those subject areas that you've got there. And as the water evaporates or is being used up in the Salton Sea, these problems start picking up with more frequency. And for the past, a little over 25 years ago, when they were sucking the mud up out of the ground to create the electricity, they found out that in that mud, the brine was being brought up, had a lot of heavy metals, precious metals. And 25 years ago, they found, wait a minute, we've got lithium inside that mud. And then the plan started, because everybody wanted to go green. So they say, let's make everything electric. So now you've got panels to put up to create electricity. You've got the lithium can be used to go ahead and make those batteries.
But where does all this stuff go? The root cause for all of this is the draining of the lake.
Yeah.
That's your root
Yeah.
cause.
Yeah.
And I think Deidre captured all that, and Jose and Deidre captured all that. All right, thank you all for sharing. Is there any final thoughts?
I have a thought. We can't allow ourselves to play at everybody else's expense. We maybe need to change our thoughts about what entertainment and recreation are. I mean, I might step on some people's toes, but we need to look at the off-road community. The expansion of the Freeman property that happened about 20 years ago was a mistake. The state needs to help hold themselves accountable for that mistake. That's my last thought.
Great.
You don't blame everybody else's mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, I don't get to set a fire to my fire. I just want to get my business, my job. It impacts my neighbor.
Right, right.
All right, so what we're going to do next, so it'll be our job to gather all these ideas, group them, and turn them into priorities that we can put in the plan. The last thing we need from you today is we have some star stickers on your tables. We want to hear from you what the highest priorities on these ideas are. So we're going to ask you to take like 5 stickers and just stick them in the groupings that you're like, yeah, this is definitely a really high priority for me. And that prioritization will really help us figure out what to focus on the most. But every idea here is going to be recorded. As I mentioned earlier during the presentation, we're keeping track of all of these ideas and we're putting them in one big spreadsheet. We will share them to the right people. Like if there's anything that is maybe slightly outside our jurisdiction, we'll make sure it gets to the right person. And the things that are the highest priority for you, we will work really hard to incorporate into the plan as much as we can. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Great. So,
Make any dollars?
make any dollars? Well, you can take some extra star stickers home. Yeah, take about 5 stickers, put them on the ideas that are like, yeah, that is critical for me.
I don't know if they plan on reaching Good.
Yeah.
I'm doing real good.
Cool.
My 30-year plan is starting.
Man. How's it going? Kevin. Good. I'm Kevin. Doing good. How are you?
Vamos importante.
Oh.
Henry, you pretend and do
So please help yourself to food. So we are distributing out paper evaluations, but if you also want to use a QR code and just do it online, you can do that as well. But yeah, we're passing out paper ones as well. Again, that feedback is really helpful. And get your raffle tickets handy so that you're ready in case you're the winner of the raffle. I'm important. They want me around. I told them I'm to the fire today.
All right, we're going to give away a whole bunch of money. Number 1, do you have a ticket? If you don't have a ticket, raise your hand and Kathy will come around and give you one. Only 1 ticket per customer.
Yep, everybody's got a ticket.
All right, everybody's got a ticket. We'll take someone who really doesn't care if you win money or not, and we'll have Kevin draw the first one. Give me a number.
Here.
who made all the desserts for you. We'll have her draw a ticket. Ticket number 5.